Wine and Crime contains graphic and explicit content which may not be suitable for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Listening to Wine and Crime, the podcast where two friends chug wine, chat true crime, and unleash their worst Minnesotan accents.
We do.
Hi there. My name's Amanda.
Oh, hi there. I'm Lucy.
Oh, my gal. How are you doing today, friend?
I'm pretty sure I've cried at you a number of times in the last 48 hours.
I should not have asked how you were doing. That is on me. I am so sorry.
Yeah, I've been better, and I'm warning you right now, I kind of phoned in today's notes.
Great. I love it.
How are you? I'm what I'm.
I'm all right. I'm all right. I had like one brief diabetic emergency this week.
Oh, yeah, you had EMTs called to your home.
Yeah, scared the shit out of my fiance with an epic low blood sugar moment and came to pantsless with EMTs in my room and like a bag of sugar water hanging in my closet with an IV in my arm. And I just like burst out crying because I was so embarrassed. Then, because I'm me, I started like building rapport with these two like adorable lady EMTs that were in there. And I was like, well, tonight's your lucky night because the last time EMTs were here, I shit myself. And they were like,
and they're like, it's early.
They were like, okay, well, you don't need to go to the hospital. So we're going to have you sign this form and we're going to go. Yeah, I was like, yeah, you better go before I shit myself.
She's crowning. Better get out.
She's crowning. So it's been
1 week. Oh, wait, it's been 2.5 days.
What a long year this week has been.
Seriously. So we're both fucking thriving.
We're thriving.
And hopefully Kenyon comes back soon.
Oh my God, please. Turns out Kenyon's the glue. We are unraveling so fucking fast.
Like there's a quota for the health and mental health issues that happen within this trio, and without her,
we're doing it.
Her,
it's all us.
Yeah, it was stuck on her for so long, like a Babadook, and now she's gone, and now it's us.
Yeah, now we're getting Babadook, duked.
God damn it!
It's not fair.
Anyway. What's happening?
So anything else going on in your life that we should get out of the way before we dive in?
Well, truly, I wanted to give a shout out to one of my friends because one of the only things holding me together lately has been online holiday shopping.
Yes.
And I was like thinking, what kind of products do I love that like I know other people are going to for like my friends and family. My friend Deanna has a skincare company called Sage and Aqua.
Ooh.
And it's like all organically sourced, ethically sourced, like botanicals and herbs, and it smells so fucking good.
Cool.
And she gave me this face. Well, she didn't give it to me. My sister bought it from her and gave it to me last Christmas. Ooh. It's like a face oil. It's called Cersei. Like a serum. Yeah, Cersei. You won't forget that. She just came out with a Cersei body oil. It smells so damn good. It's like my moment of self-care in the morning after a shower on those rare mornings that I do shower.
I love it.
Just like sit on my bed and you put some in your hands and you warm it up and then you put it on your face and it just feels so damn good. So if you, like me, are finding your only solace in online holiday shopping, you should check out Sage and Aqua for the Cersei oil, and then she's got a bunch of other cool stuff too and comes out with new stuff all the time. So
my skin is in rough shape this week because I'm about to get my period, so I might need to do some shopping.
I'll send you the link.
Yeah.
Like during my segment, you should look it up.
Great. Okay. Done. So what is the topic for today's episode?
Well, today we have a very special fan pick from Laura Brink.
Ooh, we are on the brink.
We're all on the brink. And Laura chose the topic of the husband didn't do it.
Plot twist.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Not 100% of murders of women are committed by their husbands, but
No, but just most.
we'll get to the stats.
Yeah, just most. But before we get to the stats and before we get to my wine pairing, well, okay. Actually, this is kind of connected to my wine crime pairing. So I did get a recommendation for this episode of the pale rosé, but I didn't want to drink wine today. I wanted to drink a cocktail and take a gummy. So
always a great combo.
Yep. So then I was thinking about the husband did it. Then that got me thinking about let's talk about the husband. Don't talk about the husband. And I just wanted to revisit our favorite ASMR video really quick to set the tone for today's episode.
Yes.
Here we go.
You want to bring up my stuff? Let's talk about your home life. Excuse me, I'm not talking to you. Well, I'm talking to you. We've all talked about you. Shame I'm not talking to you. And I'm talking Shut your fucking mouth. I've had enough of you, you beast. Beast. Yeah. How dare you? How dare me? You came into my home and I apologized. No, you did in 3 years. Actually, you didn't. I don't like you. Guess what? I don't particularly like you either. Well, good. I can't find one damn thing to like about you. Well, good. I've never found one thing to like about you. I did nothing to your hair, to your face, to your attitude. What are you doing like that? It's pure evil. What is wrong with you? Kyle, shush up. You should have said right from the beginning. Nice, Kim. In 3 years, I have been okay. I talked to her on the plane and you were like this. The fuck is that? Act like this, Kim. You want me to defend you even though you act like that? I'm not. I never needed you to defend me because you never have. Kim, yes, I have. She does defend you, Kim. She does defend you. She defends me more than you do.
That's my favorite
Kathy
part.
would not ever act like this. Kathy would have my back like a real sister. You have been doing this to me for years. It's not okay to talk to your sister or anyone like that. You don't understand the relationship. No, I don't. But it's not okay to talk to anyone.
Are we listening to this whole thing?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, it's
Your
almost
behavior's
over.
just not okay, Lee. Yeah, it's not okay. Why don't you have a piece of bread and maybe you'll calm down a little? Shame on you. You're disgusting, Kim. Please. Can I interfere for 1 second? I understand your sensitivity because you've worked really hard for 3 years. My husband has only been sober. Let's talk about the husband. Excuse me, did you just say let's talk about the husband? Let's not talk about what you don't want out. You know what? Let me do a scary vicious touch. Don't touch my husband ever. Just saying, why don't you fucking ever what you don't want out for everybody to know. Sit down, watch what you talk about me, or everyone will know. Never go near my husband. Everybody will know. Fucking understand that. Everybody will know. After everybody will know what you don't want.
Kyle running away.
Don't you fucking go near my husband ever.
What is that guy's name who does these?
That's from his YouTube channel. It's under T Kyle. And I'll make sure there's a link to it on the blog.
Oh my
because
god, it's my favorite fucking thing.
it's so funny. And I tried to play it for Bill before coming down to the studio to record.
He wouldn't get it.
He made me turn it off. He's like, I can't listen to these ASMR whisper things. It's like nails on a chalkboard. He made me turn it off. And then he just put in his headphones and like wouldn't talk to me.
He does like Real Housewives based ASMR whisper videos.
He's not
He's fucking
not
funny.
a fan. So I had that stuck in my head. So then
Oh
I
my
Googled
God.
the husband did it cocktail, or let's talk about the husband cocktail. Shockingly, nothing came up. I thought that like Bravo Real Housewives fans would show up for something like that, but
Yeah.
alas.
Let's talk about the husband.
Right.
Where's
But
Uncle Andy?
I know.
Get
but
me Andy.
Get me Andy on the phone. But I did find this cocktail called the Happy Husband.
Oh.
That looked really fun.
Okay.
So that's what I have up in my cup today.
Okay.
And it's kind of a weird recipe, and it is a little on the sweeter side. So you can augment it to suit your own needs. I adjusted it a little bit. Something that I like to do with cocktails that are a little on the sweeter side is I add soda water, and it just helps like cut some of the sweetness. So this is a cognac-based cocktail, which is kind of fun.
Ooh.
So you do an ounce of cognac, and you can do like muddled cherries, or you can use cherry preserve or like maraschino, you know, kind of depending on your taste. I actually had some cherry preserve, so I just did a little blop of that.
Look at you.
I know, right? Then you shake it over ice, but you don't serve it over ice.
Mm-hmm.
You put it in a serving glass, and then you can top it off with sparkling wine or champagne. So I had a little bit of Prosecco. I topped it off with that. I threw in a little splash of soda water just to give it an extra bubble. And then you can garnish it with like a thick lemon rind twist.
Ooh.
But it's really, really good. I'm not usually a big cognac person. It's like a little bit syrupy for me on its own.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a cordial. But when it's in a cocktail, it's really tasty.
I've never had it in a cocktail.
Well, now you can try this one out, the Happy Husband.
Yeah, you're such a mixologist.
You know, I have a lot of booze on my bar, and then I look up cocktail recipes. I don't make them up myself.
You mix them.
I mix them.
Yeah.
So cheers. Are you drinking anything fun?
No. Drinking ice water.
Classic. Vintage Lucy.
Terrible.
Well, I know. Gotta do what you gotta do.
We do have a happy hour coming up after we record this, so.
Yes, and I'm gonna be in rare form for it. I can already feel it.
I can't wait. Okay.
It's coming. So yeah, Lucy, take it away. What's our background in psych for The Husband Didn't Do It?
Okay. Well, as I said, I a little bit phoned it in this week because of
Love it.
mental health.
Yep.
We've also talked a lot about intimate partner violence, stats, things like that. So I didn't want to really, I don't like the phrase
Talk about the husband.
Beat a dead horse.
Oh my God.
I have some information for us, and then I have something completely different for us.
Okay.
Okay, so uxoricide is the killing is the killing of one's own wife or girlfriend, whereas the killing of one's husband is called mariticide. Uxoricide. What a ungainly word.
It sounds like a dinosaur, and it's like not. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
It really doesn't. But I did look up how to pronounce it, and I am pronouncing it the right way.
I believe you.
This is entirely from Wikipedia.
Fabulous.
Though overall rates of spousal violence and homicide in the United States have declined since the 1970s, rates of uxoricide are significantly higher than rates of mariticide.
Okay, so women are more often attacked by their partner than men.
Than the other way around.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Of the 2,340 deaths at the hands of intimate partners in the U.S. in 2007 alone, which is a huge fucking number.
That's a staggering number. Okay. And that's only the reported ones.
Yeah, I mean, it's death. It's not just intimate partner violence. It's like
but still, I mean, there could be some unsolved cases that were...
We'll get to it.
Okay, great.
But still, over 2,300 deaths in 1 year.
It's a lot.
Deaths at the hand of intimate partners. So usually when I'm going through stats like this, I just like to say this is on the binary. These are statistics from the government. It's just that is what it is.
Right.
Okay, so of those 2,300, female victims made up around 70%. FBI data from the mid-1970s to mid-1980s found that for every 100 husbands who killed their wives in the United States, about 75 women killed their husbands. So yeah, they make up about 70% of the deaths at the hands of an intimate partner.
Yeah, it's also very telling, and I feel like at this point intentional, that the statistics we're getting still now are so binary, because that really does eliminate in a lot of ways the intersections of sexuality, gender orientation, and even, obviously race. We get these large kind of lump statistics about women being victimized, which yes, we are, but the more intersections that these women contain, trans women of color, that just increases their chances of experiencing violence. And like, I feel like that's intentionally at this point not included in these stats. It just like lumps everyone together. It's kind of frustrating.
Yeah, there's just so many. I mean, like, statistics in general are so gloopy and confusing and easy to manipulate.
Yes.
So when we want hard and fast government produced statistics,
good luck.
Good luck. Fucking good luck for that intersectionality. We're just I think we're a long ways away from that.
We definitely are. It just serves as a reminder to like take those stats and take them a few steps further. Like, don't just take them at face value and assume that like my risk as a white woman in a cisgendered relationship is the same as like a trans woman of color who might have been included in these government statistics, but none of those intersections are actually clearly laid out.
Actually, since you mentioned this, earlier this week, I published the October Spooky Little Bitch, and I talked to Anton King Rose, who lives in Canada, who is a trans death doula, death care worker. And so he works specifically with the LGBTQ community, or not like only with the people from that community, but he's just trying to bring more light to specific and the unique needs that people from that community have, especially when it comes to death care.
Yep.
And we talked about an organization called Trans Doe Task Force. And their mission is to shed light on and also provide resources for finding missing people who might be going under a different name or a different gender or, you know, whatever. And it's important to note that people who are like gender variant, non-binary, trans people are at a higher risk for violence and homicide in the first place. So this kind of research, it doesn't always account for that. It doesn't always respect these people's identities. So
it does not.
It is complicated. There are organizations out there that are working to gather more inclusive intersectional stats. It's just we just don't have a whole lot of it yet.
Totally. Just something something to noodle. Yep, something to noodle when you're looking at stats.
Speaking of demographics, and this should come to the surprise of nobody, statistically, white men are more likely than any other demographic to commit uxoricide. A 2013 study found that 38.6% of murders of women worldwide are committed by intimate partners.
God, that's so high.
I actually thought that was kind of low.
I mean,
38%, this is worldwide.
I guess. I don't know. But like of all of those murders, there's a lot of murders for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
That's like a lot of murders. It's not an insignificant amount.
No,
whether it sounds low or high.
I just kind of expected it to be higher for some sick reason. I don't know.
Probably because of what we do for our job.
Yeah. Because I intentionally flood myself with like
these stories every day.
Yeah. Rates of uxoricide seem to fluctuate across Western cultures. This was really surprising, with approximately 7 women being killed per month in England and Wales by their intimate partners. Approximately 4 women per month in Australia, and approximately 76 women per month in the U.S. And I will say this is raw data, so it is a jarring number, but there are some explanations for it other than that Americans are just the fucking worst.
Right.
Like England and
we're
Wales.
The worst and...
Yeah, like England and Wales, smaller than the U.S.
Exactly, so is Australia.
And Australia is way less densely populated. But still, it's like...
That's a big jump.
It's a big jump.
Big old jump.
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for that.
No, it's alarming. But again, take those hard numbers with a little bit of a grain of salt.
Yep.
I would also, we own so many fucking guns in the U.S. We're just a more violent country.
Yeah, because what are the like, what's the trifecta of homicide? It's like means, motive, and like opportunity or something. And we provide means so fucking readily in the United States that like motive and opportunity are almost moot because the means are so accessible.
Yeah. It's horrific.
Ugh.
So there are a handful of psychodynamic explanations for uxoricide. It has been suggested that men who kill their partners experience both an unconscious dependence on their wife and also a resentment of her.
Great.
These men wish to leave the relationship but unknowingly perceive themselves as too helpless to do so because, I don't know, women take care of men a lot of times.
I guess, yeah.
Which culminates into a belief that killing the wife is the only way to be free of her.
That's completely unhinged, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Never meet a man.
But we come across that all the fucking time in our cases.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He wanted to be with somebody else.
Yep.
And so he killed his wife.
Yeah.
It's just like
we
happens
should start
way
having
too
to
often.
we should take a shot like every time someone screams divorce is an option in one of our episodes. I just don't get it. I can't psychologically put myself in that place.
No.
Of imagining wanting it out of my relationship and that being like the reasonable option.
Mm-hmm.
Like what? No.
Well, of course it's not just that. It's always a bunch of factors, but
Right.
this approach also offers an alternative explanation for instances where a man commits uxoricide and subsequent immediate suicide.
Mm-hmm.
So the man ends his life not due to guilt, but instead due to his perceived helplessness and dependency.
Okay, so
You're just a mess.
Yeah. Okay, so the thought process is she's babying me and it's pissing me off, but I also need it because I can't survive without her, but I also don't want to be with her. I don't know what to do, so I'm going to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
But oh shit, I killed her, and that's my main source of support,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm useless on my own, so I'm also going to kill myself.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Okay.
These are all just theories, of course.
The fuck?
There are also links between uxoricide and childhood trauma, go fucking figure, in that violence is an unconscious defensive adaptation to events. So
Okay.
hurt people, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, you go through trauma at a young age, then violence is sometimes just your synapses are connecting.
Mm-hmm.
It's what you've learned.
It's what you've learned.
It's how you respond.
Well, it's how you've learned to like engage with your environment and have your needs met. Because that's what's been modeled to you your whole life.
Mm-hmm. Other psychodynamic researchers have reported that thematic apperception tests reveal significant trends of rejection by a mother or wife in men who commit uxoricide. So it's the classic, I hate women, all women, women have done nothing but disappoint me.
Mm-hmm.
Psychoanalytic dream interpretation has also argued that unconscious conflict manifests into violent outbursts. So you could have repeated dreams about being mad at your partner, and that culminates in a daytime real life scenario.
Uh-oh.
I have a lot of dreams, I'm just saying.
Oh, God.
So, for example, in one instance, a man had experienced and recorded over 200 distressing, mostly violent dreams prior to murdering his wife.
Oh.
So, be careful with dreams.
The dream told me to.
Research has found that cohabitating women are 9 times more likely to be killed by their intimate partner than married women. So if you're just living together,
but not
statistically,
married,
you're at higher risk. So,
oh, God, this is my last year of, I got to make it just through this year.
You just got a few more months to go.
Yep.
A number of possible reasons for this finding have been studied. So cohabitating women are more likely to be younger, have a lower level of education, and are more likely to bring children from a previous relationship into their new home with their new partner. In addition to this heightened risk to the mother with stepchildren, the genetically unrelated stepfather also poses a risk to the child. We have talked about that a lot before, too.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
An Australian study found that in a sample of uxoricide cases, 47% of women were murdered by their male intimate partner within 2 months of separation.
Wow.
Sexual jealousy may be a possible reason for this heightened risk following separation.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, we talk a lot about how the most dangerous time
Is when you try to leave.
is when you are, finally leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Because they just freak out that, yeah.
And then just a few more interesting facts about this topic. The greater age disparity between the spouses, the higher the risk of spousal homicide.
Interesting.
So for a male, the damage associated with infidelity is greater when the partner is younger than him.
Huh.
A woman's fertility decreases as she gets older, therefore age is a key indicator of reproductive success. And as a result, a man will place high levels of importance and value on a mate with greater reproductive value, i.e. a younger woman.
Mm-hmm.
A man is more... Oh, this is so gross. A man is more likely to engage in so-called hands-on killing methods when the mate has a high reproductive value. So hands-on would be
Like
such
strangling,
stabbing, drowning, and using weapons like face-to-face. It's not poisoning. It's not hiring somebody.
Yeah.
It's hands-on.
That's so creepy.
Mm-hmm. But honestly, I have something else weighing on me this week as we record, so I'm going to use the rest of my time to tell you about a recent news story. So the second half is a bit more gackish.
Okay.
I think I sent this article to you. I don't know if you read it.
Mm-hmm.
And probably by the time this comes out, everyone's going to know about this and probably know a lot more information. But I can't stop thinking about it this week. And so many people have sent me this article. So I just got to go for it. We have to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We're talking about the husband. Let's go.
We are talking about someone's husband.
Mm-hmm.
And he definitely did do it. But anyway, okay. So this is a combination of articles from Newsweek, the Omaha World Herald, and CNN. For 45 years, Lucy Studi, it might be Study. I
sent
think
you
it's
this.
Studi.
Yeah. A lot of people sent you this.
A lot of people sent me this.
I sent this to our big chat.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Lucy Studi told anyone who would listen that her father had murdered scores of young women and buried them with the help of his children, and no one believed her.
Mm-hmm.
Cadaver dogs have now pinpointed suspected human remains at the spots she identified in a remote stretch of western Iowa, which, by the way, is
not far from you.
2 hours and 4 minutes from where I sit right now is where this happened. Because, yes, I Googled it.
Yup.
Quote, "I know where the bodies are buried," Lucy told Newsweek, whose reporters were at the scene of the investigation in the scrub outside Thurman, Iowa, which apparently is where my neighbor's father grew up.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
It's real rural.
Rural.
She recalled how her father, Donald Dean Studi, would direct her and her siblings to help him as he transported bodies using a wheelbarrow in the warmer months and a toboggan in the winter.
Great.
Quote, "He would just tell us we had to go to the well, and I knew what that meant."
Oh, that's creepy. The well.
The well. Every time I went to the well or into the hills, I didn't think I was coming down. I thought he'd kill me because I wouldn't keep my mouth shut.
Oh, my God.
As he dumped the bodies into the well, they meaning the children and him, would pile dirt and lie on top. If further investigation confirms the story, it could show that the father was one of the most prolific known serial killers in American history. Lucy Studi believes her father killed 50 to 70 women over 3 decades. He died in March of 2013 at the age of 75, so he's long gone.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, you don't want it to be true, but also you kind of do, so that if there are all these cases that are unsolved, we can start to bring justice to those families. I don't know. I have a lot of complicated feelings around this.
And you know, from when we went to Omaha last summer, whenever we went to Omaha, what is time?
Mm-hmm.
It's right in the middle of a bunch of huge highways and interstates.
Yes.
So there is a lot of semis, a lot of truck stops, a lot of people passing through.
Yep.
It's disturbing.
Mm-hmm.
No Waffle Houses, though.
I know. Really, that's egregious.
I know. There's multiple crimes related. So Lucy Studi, was joined at the scene of the investigation by Fremont County Sheriff Kevin Isotope. 2 deputies, a dog handler, and his 2 dogs, cadaver dogs.
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff said, "I believe her 100% that there's bodies in there."
It's like, take one look at this goddamn place. Of course there's bodies in here. Are you kidding me?
I have photos on the drive,
yeah,
which will be on the blog. It's like, yeah, of course there's fucking bodies in there.
Duh. Oh my God.
Okay, so Donald Dean Studi had love tattooed across the knuckles of one hand and hate across the other hand.
Okay, guy.
So
Fucking relax.
I know. It's creative.
Yeah.
So he's suspected by law enforcement authorities to have lured women, most of them sex workers or transients picked up in nearby Omaha, Nebraska, to his 5 acres of forested hills and farmland before killing them. So it's just like it's like a half hour south of Omaha. It's not far away. Lucy Studi said her father not only made sure his children knew what he was doing, but forced them to help with the burials.
Ugh.
She remembered him saying of one victim, quote, "The bitch deserved it."
Oh my God.
Most of the women had dark or darkish hair, she said. All were white, and she guessed that most, except for a 15-year-old runaway, were in their 20s or 30s.
Ugh.
She now lives under her married name, and it's not being published. So
Right.
Lucy Studi repeated over and over, dig, 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 at the scene as the dogs moved from place to place through the dried undergrowth. It's so fucking creepy.
That just gave me chills. Oh, God.
The cadaver dogs, trained to detect human remains, went directly to the spots where Studi had said since she was a child that the bodies had been buried. So,
no way.
Her story has not changed since she started talking about this.
I knew that the dogs had detected remains or like the presence of remains. I guess I didn't realize that they had like immediately gone to the spots that she had said.
They went to the spots. There were 4 different spots. They went straight there and like alerted or whatever.
Wow.
They went without being led by their handler, whose name is Jim Peters, who runs Samaritan Detection Dogs, and they did this search pro bono.
Dang.
One of the dogs signaled likely human remains by barking, the other by sitting still where the remains were potentially located. So they were Australian cattle dogs.
Oh,
Their
babies.
names were Jojo and Jetty. So, like I said, they scented remains at 4 locations, with the last location getting multiple quote-unquote hits where the bodies might be buried.
Yeah.
Okay, so the dog handler said, quote, "Today told me there is the odor of human decomposition in the area. More work needs to be done to confirm that. I feel pretty good about what I saw from the dogs, but I'm not going to hang my hat on it." Because we've talked about, was it animals solving crimes? I talked about cadaver dogs.
Right.
There's a little bit of controversy. I think it's not due to the dog's abilities by any means. It's just training and interpretation of what they're signaling.
Sure.
But I don't know. This is
That's pretty.
It's a coincidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems pretty telling.
So the sheriff said, "I really think there's bones there. It's hard for me to believe that dogs would hit in the exact same places and be false. We don't know what it is. The settlers were up there. There was Indian country up there as well, but I tend to believe Lucy." Goes on to say, "Right now, we don't even have a bone. According to the dogs, this is a very large burial site."
Ooh.
The location is super hard to reach. It's just down a dirt road, and like you could see from the pictures, it's just like overgrown,
Yep.
old, not even tended farm. It's not even farmland. It's just rural
I mean,
woods.
like, honestly, if you look up, like, remote dumping area for remains in a Google search, that you'd imagine this.
Especially like mid to late fall in this area of the country, everything's like brown and dry and spooky and
Yeah.
So the next step would be to use sonar where the land allows it, then dig the sites to search for human remains. Many of the victims were buried in the well, which was between 90 and 100 feet deep.
Oof.
They were buried wearing clothing and jewelry, although Lucy said her father kept gold teeth as trophies.
Oh, good.
She also said in one of these articles that his preferred method of killing them was smashing their heads in.
Holy shit.
Like
that is fucked up.
Very hands-on. He knew what he wanted to get out of the murders.
Yeah. Ooh, that's creepy.
So she goes on to say, "All I want is to get these sites dug up and to bring closure for people and to give these women a proper burial."
Yeah.
The lye in which the bodies had been buried can act as a preservative of remains instead of speeding decomposition. It also hides the smell. So I think they put that in there, kind of suggesting that even though they've been down there for a long time in a well, it's possible that they're preserved enough to be able to identify them.
Oh, okay.
And they're clothed and they have jewelry.
I mean, let's hope, because don't people use that to break down the bodies?
It's like a dried like acid kind of.
Yeah. So maybe in terms of like remaining soft tissue, that's probably at this point all gone. But if what Lucy is saying, she remembers having to bury them still wearing their clothes or with some of their possessions, I feel like that's going to be the most, identifiable stuff that we could potentially get. I mean, God, it's just, you don't want it to be true. And in some ways you do want it to be true so that we can get an answer to probably a lot of fucking questions.
Just 100 feet deep and they're just like layered.
Oh, it's so sad. Ugh, I hate it.
So this deep well presents a challenge. It has since been sealed, and excavation would be a very expensive and laborious task. So they don't really know the best strategy for going down in the well because you also want to preserve any evidence.
Yep.
So one of the detectives says, quote, "You can't just start digging straight down." The well is 90 to 100 feet deep. It's an extremely large process. We would want to do it in the most effective and safe way possible.
Yeah. Damn.
Sean Smith, who with his father owns the abutting land next to the property and grew up with the Studi children, isn't surprised by any of the allegations. He too had heard the stories and he remembers an odd phone call that he got about a decade ago. Quote, "Out of the blue, this guy asks me if I had seen cow bones or people bones in the well."
Sir.
The man who called was Donald Studi, and Smith just listened to, he didn't know what to say. He was kind of shocked. So he goes on to say, quote, "He told me my daughter's always hallucinating and making up stories, and she told the authorities that I've got a body back there."
Okay, so now he's trying to go around and like invalidate his daughter's claims to the community.
Yep. This was only 10 years ago. This was right before he died.
Holy shit.
So stoutly built with close-cropped hair, Studi showed little emotion at the scene. She described herself as a cold person, detached. Which, of course, I mean, wouldn't she
How can you not be after a lifetime of this kind of trauma?
Studi,
I want to be this detached.
I know.
Teach me.
Jesus. Studi said her father, quick to anger and routinely drunk, would stab and shoot people, but his preferred method of killing was smashing or kicking in the heads of the women inside a trailer in which they lived on the property. It is unclear whether Lucy's siblings have been cooperative with the authorities. Actually, I have a quote from her sister down here a little bit. Their brother died by suicide at age 39. Studi said that over the years, she told her story to teachers, priests, and, quote, law enforcement all over Iowa and Nebraska trying to get something done. She said the trauma of an abusive upbringing and being forced to take part in covering the bodies won't settle until the truth is told. Quote,
well, that's so sad about the brother.
I know. That's their whole family is
Yeah, but also, I mean, there are lots of reasons and unfortunate circumstances around folks taking their own lives. So that's not like, it doesn't mean it's a guaranteed like admission of this man's guilt because the son.
No, of course not.
But it is it's
an odd detail.
Yeah.
She goes on to say, "No one would listen to me. The teacher said family matters should be handled as a family." And
Okay, but if the family matter is
homicide,
serial homicides.
Yeah. I don't know.
Oh, that person should not have a teaching license. Goodbye.
And law enforcement has said they couldn't trust the memory of a child. She said, "I was just a kid then, but I remember it all."
We have some of that in my case, and it is fucking infuriating.
Well, and also infuriating, now that the sheriff, Isotope, is like, now that this is getting national attention, he's quoted as saying, "We are actively investigating this, and who wouldn't?"
You, apparently, 20 minutes ago.
I know.
Before you had a spotlight on you.
We have a scene, but we don't know whether it's a crime scene. We don't have victims, bodies, nothing. Well, yeah, you're just gonna dig them up. You know where they
Yeah.
are.
Get to digging.
So then this is some of the newer news. Susan Studi, who's Lucy Studi's older sister, later told Newsweek her sister's claims were not true. Quote, my father was not the man she makes him out to be. He was strict, but he was a protective parent who loved his children. Strict fathers don't just turn into serial killers. I'm 2 years older than Lucy. I think I would know if my father murdered.
I mean, interesting take.
Interesting. So maybe
It raises questions.
By the time this comes out, we'll hopefully know more information.
Yeah, or at least have some confirmation on whether or not there are human remains in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know? Damn.
So went a little bit off. Yeah, he had been.
I mean, we don't know. The husband might have done it.
I also read that this guy had been married twice before, and one of his ex-wives died allegedly by suicide by strangling herself with an electrical cord. And that's a really weird way of saying she hanged herself, because who would be able to strangle themselves without it being a hanging situation?
I
So
mean,
that was
not
fishy too.
Yeah, I guess, but not to get too gross or creepy, but like there are other ways to asphyxiate yourself without not just hanging. Like there are people, there are even people in like the autoerotic asphyxiation who have accidentally died because they like attached a ligature to like a doorknob and leaned forward to be able to like restrict their airway and then pleasure themselves.
Yeah.
So like that's technically not dying by quote unquote hanging.
It was painted as a suicide, and
Right.
also statistically, it's not a way
I'm just
that
saying
women tend to kill
But
themselves.
I'm just saying she could have done it in a similar fashion.
Pure speculation, and I don't remember which article I read that in, but it was just like, really? That's a little fishy.
It's sketchy. Don't love it.
Don't love it. Anyway, that's my wildly scattered segment.
Well done.
Thanks.
You're fabulous.
All right, we're back, baby. And because Kenyon is still not quite ready to bless us with her presence, we have a case that Amanda and I are going to read a popcorn style.
Yes, because I'm obsessed with this case.
Well, do you want to take it away? Yeah.
Wait, really?
Rip off that Band-Aid, baby.
Okay.
I do know how much you love this case.
It's really more about how much I love Keith Morrison.
Yes.
And I wish I could just do this whole thing in a Keith Morrison voice, but no one can Keith Morrison like Keith Morrison.
Or Keith Richards, as I called Keith Morrison to his face at CrimeCon.
Except for, what's his name? Bill Hader. He does a really good Keith Morrison impression. But
Bill Hader is my hall pass.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%. Same. And I think he's probably Bill's too. But anyway. Here we go. Pamela Marie Newman was born on October 10th, 1958 in Delwood, Missouri, which is a suburb of St. Louis. She was the third of 4 children, and her mother was a teacher and her father a union electrician. Go Unions. By all accounts, she had an unremarkable childhood. She was raised in a comfortable, middle-class Catholic family. Very boring, very chill.
Mm-hmm.
She threw some excitement into her Catholic family, though, because she got pregnant late in her senior year of high school.
Ooh.
Yep. And, what you do, you marry the high school boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
So they got married just a couple months after graduation.
Ugh.
She gave birth to a daughter and stayed married to her husband for 6 years before they divorced.
Because divorce is an option.
It is an option. Not long after she married her second husband, a man named Mark Hupp, a former minor league baseball player who now worked as a carpenter. They had a son, so now Pam has 2 kids, one from her previous marriage and now one with Mark. They relocated to Florida for a little while, and then they returned to Missouri in 2001, and they bought a house in O'Fallon, Missouri.
Okay.
Pam began working a clerical job at State Farm, like a good neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
And she had held previous jobs in the insurance industry, but had been fired on 2 occasions for forging signatures. Naughty, naughty Pam.
Bad Pam.
Bad Pam, no. At State Farm, Pam became fast friends with her coworker Betsy Faria, who was 11 years younger than her. By 2010, Pam had stopped working and was claiming disability benefits for chronic back, leg, and neck pain. And she had lost touch with Betsy a few years back, but when she learned that her old work friend had been diagnosed with breast cancer, so Betsy had been diagnosed with breast cancer, she reached out to her to reconnect.
That's nice.
Yeah. I don't know. You know how, like, everybody has a handful of people in their life, maybe not friends, but like acquaintances that are kind of like trauma tourists.
Yeah.
And if something kind of goes wrong or someone close to you dies or you get really sick or whatever, and then like all of a sudden these people from your past find a way to weasel in or like try to weasel in. I've known a couple folks like this, and it's very creepy. You know? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
That's one thing to reach out and be like, I'm heard you're going through a hard time. I'm so sorry. Like, what can I do for you? How can I support you? And then it's another thing to be like, hey, haven't talked to you in so long. What's new? Oh my gosh, that's so wild.
Hey, bestie.
Yeah.
Girl boss.
Oh, girl boss.
It's all trauma tourists are in the same vibe category as like MLM ladies.
Yeah.
In my opinion. They're cut from the same cloth.
She gives off this, that vibe.
Yeah, Pam sells leggings, probably.
Probably.
So the two soon reforged their close bond, and Pam began accompanying Betsy, who lived with her husband, Russ, and her two daughters from a previous relationship. So Russ was like, for all intents and purposes, their dad, but not their biological father. But Pam is going with Betsy to all of her chemo appointments. Like, that's a great friend.
Yeah.
In 2011, Betsy learned that the cancer had metastasized to her liver and was terminal, which would be fucking horrible news. And that's so fucking sad.
Does Betsy have kids? Oh, yes. Two daughters.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Then on December 22nd, 2011, Betsy changed the beneficiary of her $150,000 life insurance policy from her husband, Russ, to her BFF, Pam Hupp.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
As someone who used to work at State Farm, she should know that's not a logical or a wise decision.
Or maybe as someone, well, I guess Betsy also did work at State Farm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Because I'm like, oh, maybe Pam used her like insider knowledge at State Farm to convince Betsy. But like, yeah, Betsy should know better. But we're not victim blaming Betsy, but it is very odd. Yeah. I think it just more goes to show the powers of manipulation that Pam had rather than like any weakness or vulnerability necessarily on Betsy's part.
1000%.
Yeah. So when Pam was questioned about this later, she would claim that Betsy had made the change so that Pam could safeguard the money and give it to her daughters when they were older, and that she didn't trust Russ to make sure that her daughters got the money. So that's why they did it.
I mean, okay.
So Betsy makes this change. Betsy puts the policy beneficiary in Pam's name, and then 5 days later, she goes for a chemotherapy session. This is scheduled, like it's, legit. Pam had planned to take Betsy to this session like usual, but was told at the last minute that Betsy's mother was going to take her instead.
Betsy's mother is alive.
Yes.
And Pam is doing all this shit for Betsy.
Yep.
I was like, oh, this is like something like, your sister would do or your mom would do or something like a family member that you inherently trust, not your former coworker.
Betsy is Pam is a devoted friend to Betsy. Truly devoted.
I'm so glad I don't have any devoted friends.
The thing about Pam.
She's a creep.
It's not good. Betsy's like, it's cool, Pam. My mom's going to take me today. Don't worry about it. So after she finishes chemotherapy, Betsy goes to her mom's house to, take a nap, take a rest, and popcorn Lucy.
Oh, okay. Russ had plans that night to attend a game night with his friends, which he did every Tuesday. Boys' night with the boys.
Ah.
The friend who was hosting lived only a 5-minute drive from Betsy's mother's house, so he planned to pick her up and drive her home when he was done hanging out with his friends. He texted her that afternoon, quote, going to game and then come get you. Will call when on way. Should not be too late.
Okay.
And then Betsy texted back, okay, great, honey.
Perfect.
However, Betsy later texted Russ to say, Pam Hupp wants to bring me home to bed. The fact that she used her first and last
Full
name is weird.
Yeah, that's sus.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. Pam, surprising everyone, had shown up at Betsy's mother's house and offered Betsy a ride home.
Okay, so she was not expected.
Apparently not.
No.
Russ texted back to double check, make sure he was reading this correctly. She is bringing you? Betsy replied, yes, she offered and I accepted.
Mm-hmm.
And so Russ remained at his friend's house for a couple more hours watching a movie. And around 9 p.m., he set off for home, assuming that Betsy was already there, probably stopping at an Arby's on the way.
Duh, they have the meats.
And they have curly fries and horsey sauce. I love the horsey sauce.
The horsey sauce is really good. And they do have some of the best fries in fast food.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Around-
Fucking at me.
Yeah. Hot take. I'm so excited for our upcoming episode.
Mm-hmm.
Arby's crimes. They have the crimes. Okay.
The meat crimes.
The meat. Can we never do meat crimes?
Absolutely we can't. We're good.
So he stopped at Arby's. Maybe he's eating some curly fries and horsey sauce and a roast beef sandwich in the car on his way home.
Mm-hmm.
Around 9:40 p.m., he stepped inside his house and was greeted with a horrific sight. Betsy was lying on the kitchen floor in a pool of blood.
Oof.
Both of her wrists had been slashed and a serrated kitchen knife was stuck in her throat. Popcorn Amanda.
Ah! Rude. Okay. Panicked, Russ called 911 and reported that his wife had killed herself, something she had a history of contemplating since her diagnosis. But when investigators arrived, they quickly concluded that there was no way this could be a suicide. Betsy had been stabbed over 55 times and her wrists had been cut to the bone. Oh my God. Kenyon! Ow!
Jesus Christ.
Oh, my wrists.
I know.
Sorry, I'm cringing. I'm full body cringing.
I have skinny wrists too. It wouldn't take much.
So skinny. You could see it's the only skinny part of me, and it's vulnerable. Huh. Suspicion immediately fell on Russ, whose hysterical demeanor combined with his declaration that Betsy had done this to herself rang false to investigators. And like, Russ, we know this episode's topic, so we know Russ didn't do it. Like, we're not giving it away. But his 911 call was really weird.
Mm-hmm.
And listening to the thing about Pam, which, like, don't even fucking bother with the TV show. Nobody needs Renee Zellweger in a fat suit. Like, fuck that shit. But the podcast is so good. And
I gotta listen.
It's really good. It's like, I've listened to it a million times because it's what I like to pop on when I have flight anxiety, when I'm flying. Like, the only thing that can calm me is Keith Morrison. I don't even have to really pay attention to it anymore. I just like the sound of his voice. So
Yes.
I just will play it. But like, the 911 call, I would be suspicious of Russ too in the beginning. But then there's a lot of pretty obvious fucking evidence that shows he didn't do it. But anyway. So he's arrested the day after Betsy's death, and they do a search of the house, and it uncovers a bloodstained pair of slippers in his closet, and they're his slippers. So they're like, okay, you made this 911 call. You said your wife killed herself, but then we show up on the scene, and it's like a very obvious homicide.
Yeah.
That's already fucking weird. And now we've got these bloody slippers in your closet. Something's not right.
No.
We're arresting you.
Mm-mm.
In the initial investigation into Betsy's death, Pam Hupp had been questioned and had claimed that Russ had a, quote, violent temper and that Betsy had been considering leaving him.
And she switched the life insurance because she, quote unquote, didn't trust him.
Oh. Yep. So this, like, seemingly, point to Pam Hupp detail is now kind of corroborating the Russ did it story.
Mm-hmm.
So after the interview with Pam, police searched Betsy's laptop and found a Word document in which she expressed fears that Russ would kill her. On January 4th, 2012, the day after Betsy's funeral, Russ was charged with first-degree murder. He was unable to make the $250,000 bail, and he remained in jail until his trial began in November of 2013. So he sat in jail for
almost
the better part of a year. He was arrested in 2012. Oh, yeah, because it was January of 2012. Almost 2 years.
Fucking years.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Which this is a reminder that, like, cash bail is insane. Either you are too dangerous because of the charges to await trial, or because there are people who have bail that they can't afford. And then can you imagine for like a petty weed offense, you have to sit in jail for 2 fucking years just waiting for your trial?
Can you
because
imagine?
you can't afford 10 grand to get out on bail?
Yeah. And then it's for something you didn't do in the first place.
I mean,
sometimes.
frankly, most people sitting in jail are not convicted criminals. They are just, they can't afford bail. So just a reminder of that.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, that's like totally tangential, but like anytime I see a bail situation like this, I'm like, okay, we shouldn't have bail. It should be like, okay, I get it. If there's a compelling evidence that you murdered somebody, you're not, you're a danger to society. So then don't offer bail. There just shouldn't be people who are not a danger to society sitting in jail because they can't fucking pay bail. But anyway,
and
this
also,
poor bastard who didn't fucking do it sat in jail for 2 years waiting for a trial.
For his speedy trial.
Yep, exactly.
That's crazy.
So during the trial, his defense attorney, Joel Schwartz, built his case around the testimonies of the 4 friends that Russ had spent the evening with on December 27th, so the night that she was killed. He also argued that cell phone records placing Russ at his friend's house 20 miles away from the murder scene and evidence that he had stopped at different stores to run errands before the game night and then at Arby's on his way home, like he had receipts, literally had receipts that were time-stamped.
Oh my God.
Meant that there was no possible way that he could have been home at any point in the window of time in which medical examiners had placed Betsy's time of death. There were also no traces of blood on Russ's body or clothes except for the slippers that had been found in the closet. Nothing else had blood on it.
Which, considering how fucking bloody the scene was, is a little weird.
It's very weird. And like, then people are like, oh yeah, okay, well, he got rid of his clothes. But then why did he leave the bloody slippers in the closet if he got rid of his clothes? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Popcorn Lucy.
The prosecuting attorney, Leah Askey. I like that there's an attorney named Askey. Built a counter-narrative in which Russ's friends were providing him with a false alibi and had actually conspired with Russ to help him murder his wife. The game night was a lie. But like grown men sitting around watching a movie late at night is a little weird too.
Yeah.
But whatever. She proposed that his friends had held onto his cell phone and that one had posed as him to buy food at Arby's. I volunteer as tribute. Which she described as the ultimate role play. Oh my God.
Yikes.
Schwartz wanted to present evidence implicating Pam Hupp as an alternative suspect, including the life insurance policy change and cell phone records that placed her in the vicinity of Betsy's house for up to 30 minutes after the time she claimed to have dropped Betsy off. She like hung out.
So she was like sitting out front in her car or something. Or just sitting in the house. Who knows?
Or killing her. I don't know. However, the judge, Christina Menemeyer, refused to allow this evidence. Russ Faria was convicted and sentenced to 30 years in prison without the possibility of parole. Poor guy. Only saying that because I know how this ends.
Yep.
Despite the fact that his conviction largely hinged on Askey's theory that Russ's friends had also been instrumental in carrying out the murder, none of those friends were ever arrested, and they didn't even learn that they had been implicated until they saw the media coverage about Askey's closing arguments.
Jesus Christ.
How fucking sloppy.
It's the fucking lawyer and judge in this case. Listen to the podcast. They are real pieces of work.
Can we listen to it on our road trip?
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes, we can.
Schwartz immediately filed a motion for a new trial, but it was rejected by Judge Menemeyer. Okay, great. Then in January of 2014, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch launched an investigation into the case. The next month, the newspaper reported that Hupp had been the sole beneficiary of Betsy's life insurance payout and that she had kept the money for herself rather than putting it into a trust for Betsy's daughters. So that plan kind of fell through.
Yep.
The Post-Dispatch also interviewed the 911 operator who had taken Russ's really fucking weird call that evening. And she said she believed Russ had sounded genuinely in shock at what he found when he arrived home. So do you want to do like a little reenactment of what he sounded like on the phone? Because it's really,
Me?
yeah, it's very dramatic.
I don't remember exactly what he said.
No, but just like the affectation, because wasn't he like,
oh yeah, it was very like weepy voice killer.
Histrionic.
Yeah, it was over the top.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, my wife, she killed herself. And it's like, sir.
Sir, this is an Arby's.
Sir, this is literally an Arby's. Like, I'm so sorry this happened to you, but also.
Oh, right. Can I have some horsey sauce?
By the way, I couldn't have killed her. I turned around and got back in line because I forgot my horsey sauce. I'm sorry. I can't timestamp that.
That wasn't blood on my slippers. That was barbecue sauce.
That is horsey sauce.
It was Arby's sauce.
Oh, my God.
Sir, that's horsey sauce.
Oh, Lord.
Furthermore, the newspaper had uncovered that the prosecutor, Leah Askey, had been in a romantic relationship with one of the investigating officers in the case, who she had called as a prosecution witness. She's fucking the witness.
Yep.
The Post-Dispatch uncovered an email this officer had sent to Askey that read, quote, "This is not a puppy dog, crush on the hot girl in high school kind of love. This is an epic, shit stories are written about kind of love."
Wow, what a poet. Ick. God.
Pliny the Younger. That was such a dumb joke to elicit that reaction. There was a Pliny the Younger, and it's not this guy.
Tell me you're an English major without telling me you're an Pliny the Younger.
Pliny the Younger over here.
Am I right? Ever heard of him? No. Yes, I have.
Ever heard of him?
Wow, that was a deep cut. I love it.
That was
Okay,
a really deep cut.
Continue.
All right, the end of his email, his poetic, epic email says, "I will do my best to be everything you need."
Great.
Following this bombshell report, Betsy's daughters took legal action against Pam Hupp to attempt to reclaim the life insurance policy money because it was $150 fucking grand. Duh.
Yeah.
This case would eventually be dismissed in 2016. Great. Popcorn Amanda.
Schwartz also once again appealed his client's conviction, and Judge Menemeyer recused herself from the case, and another judge granted a motion for a new bench trial rather than a jury trial based on the new evidence. So they're like, okay, we'll try this again. During this trial, police officers who were called to testify, revealed that Pam had told them in interviews that she and Betsy had been in a sexual relationship.
Okay.
And that there were numerous inconsistencies in the stories that she had told police in their interviews with her after the murder.
Ugh.
So she had never, she never gave the same exact story twice. She'd come back in and be interviewed over and over and over again, and weird new shit would come out every time. It was far fucking fetched.
And then way later, she's like, oh yeah, but also we were having sex.
And we were sleeping together. Yep. So the judge overturned Russ's conviction, and he was released from prison, having served 3 years of his sentence. Then, a few months after his release, in August of 2016, the case took another shocking and deadly turn. Because Pam is nuts. Hupp, this is so fucking sad. I mean, it's so fucking sad that Betsy got murdered. It's so fucking sad that Russ lost his wife and then went to prison for several years for a crime he didn't commit. But this part is I don't know. Preying on vulnerable people is just very sick. And Pam now does that again in frankly, even more egregious way, in my opinion. So Hupp lured a man named Louis Gumpenberger, who had suffered a traumatic brain injury years earlier that left him with mental and physical disabilities, to her home. She shot him to death and called the police to claim that she had shot someone in self-defense who she believed Russ Faria had sent to murder her.
Oh my God.
Yep.
This lady is a whack.
Complete whack job. Indeed, when police examined Gumpenberger's body, they found a handwritten note in his pocket instructing him to kill Pam Hupp, but to first take her to the bank, get, quote, Russ's money, and leave it in the woodpile at Faria's house. But this time, Pam's scheming did not fool police, and a week later, she was arrested and charged with first-degree murder.
Oh, it's about time.
I know, seriously.
So this was 2016.
Yep.
Betsy was murdered in
2012.
Okay.
Yep. And then he awaited trial for almost 2 years, went to trial in 2013, was found guilty. Then in 2016, because of like the relationship with the investigator and the prosecutor, and then
new
like
trial.
that, you know, it granted them a new trial. At the new trial, all this info came out about Pam, who still was not being implicated in Betsy's murder, but it was enough. There were enough inconsistencies that her testimony, which like the first trial had a lot of stake in her testimony, like a fuck ton. So in this new trial, it basically devalued everything that she had said in the first trial, and without her testimony, his conviction was overturned in this bench trial. It was like, okay, we don't actually have enough evidence to say that it was him.
Go home.
So he gets released in 2016.
Got it. Okay.
He's out for just a couple months when Pam's calling the cops because this intruder has come in, sent by Russ, allegedly, and she shot and killed this guy in her house.
Got it.
But they're like, this does not fucking add up. You know, this guy is not capable of this kind of behavior. What the fuck? And they arrested her.
Okay. Got it.
So in June of 2019, she entered an Alford plea for the murder of Louis Gumpenberger. So she acknowledged that prosecutors had enough evidence to convict her, but didn't admit guilt. So it's basically like, I'm not entering a plea of guilty. It's, if you watch The Staircase, it's what like Michael Peterson wanted to refuse to do. But anyway.
Yeah.
She was sentenced to life in prison without parole in August of 2019. The prosecutor in the case, Mike Wood, also announced that they would be reopening the Betsy Faria murder investigation.
I have a question.
Yeah.
If you're facing life in prison without parole anyway, what is the point of accepting an Alford plea? Was the death penalty on the table? It is Missouri.
Yeah, I don't think it was. I don't even think that's necessarily like an Alford plea thing. I think it's like, I'm not admitting guilt ever. I don't want to go through a trial, and I want to leave this open without my guilt on the record in the event that like I want to file an appeal.
Okay.
Or, you know, yada, yada, yada.
Got it.
That would be, I think a lot of it is about fucking ego.
Yeah.
At least when I associate this with like the Michael Peterson case from The Staircase, that's so much about ego. He never wanted it to be on the record that he had made any admission of guilt. He stood by his innocence till the bitter end. And so he refused. He didn't want to do an Alford plea. But for Pam, I would imagine she's like, okay, I'm fucking going away. I don't want to deal with a trial, and I want to leave an open door in the event that I can find some loophole and, you know,
Got it.
get another trial.
Okay.
So the prosecutor in the case, Mike Wood, also announced that they would be reopening Betsy Faria's murder investigation. In addition, an investigation was also reopened into the death of Pam Hupp's mother, Shirley Newman, who had died from, quote, falling off a balcony at her retirement home.
I remember that part. Oh my God.
Yeah. In 2013. And Pam had been the last person to see her mother alive. And in light of her involvement in 2 other murders, the circumstances of her mom's death now looked super sus. Also, I don't think that this is included in here, but it is included in the podcast. Before she got Louis to like come over and like manipulated him into coming over to her house, and then she like staged this whole intruder thing. She was like driving around local like trailer parks and pretending to be a producer from Dateline. Because like Dateline had been all over this case.
Yeah.
And so she was like, oh yeah, we're looking for people to do like a talking head. We pay, you know, $1,000. You just have to like come with me, you know, like, you know, and I'll take you somewhere. We'll do this interview. We'll give you the money and then I'll bring you back. And one lady accepted and got in her car. But then like as they were driving, she was having just a conversation with Pam. And was like, something seems really fucking off and weird about this lady. And halfway through the car ride was like, fuck this, I actually don't want to do this anymore. And got Pam to turn around and bring her back to her house. And then a couple days later, this guy Louis gets murdered in Pam's house. So she was totally out like fishing around for people that she could lure to her house and then set up as a fucking intruder and kill.
Wasn't she like Also, like, practice this line. Make it convincing.
It's so creepy. It's so creepy. This lady is completely unhinged.
Yes.
So it's like she definitely killed her mom. She pushed her mom off a balcony.
Yeah.
Like, I don't doubt it whatsoever.
Also, I would be confident to say that balconies in nursing homes aren't that easy to fall off of.
No! This elderly, and that's in the podcast. They talk about that detail. It's like this elderly woman would have had to work real hard to tip herself over that railing. What is going on? God. Popcorn Lucy, finish us out.
Oh my God. In March of 2020, Russ Faria settled a lawsuit he had brought against 3 police officers who had investigated him, alleging that they had fabricated evidence and, quote, failed to investigate the other obvious suspect. And he ended up receiving a $2 million payout. Not too shabby. In July of 2021, Pam Hupp was finally charged with the first-degree murder of Betsy Faria. The prosecution alleged that Hupp had murdered Betsy for financial gain and had repeatedly stabbed her while she was asleep on the sofa, worn out from her chemotherapy treatment, and then had spread blood around the house in an attempt to implicate Russ. Mike Wood announced that he would pursue the death penalty, again, Missouri, there we go, stating that, quote, I do not take lightly the decision to pursue the death penalty, but this case stands alone in its heinousness and depravity, such that it shocks the conscience.
Yep, that's drama for you, baby.
So this case is actually still ongoing.
My extra bubbly cocktail just made me burp like crazy.
What the fuck else is new? You're always burping.
I know, I'm sorry. I blacked out. I didn't even, it's like, yeah, you're being recorded, you fucking idiot. John, don't cut it.
At least it wasn't one of your classic, bleh. Okay, so this case is still ongoing. A preliminary hearing was scheduled for February of 2022, but was indefinitely delayed after Hupp's public defender died of a heart attack. Okay. Recently, Hupp waived her right to a preliminary hearing altogether, a very unusual move for someone facing the death penalty. Okay. And her arraignment is currently scheduled for October 28th. Girl, that is this Friday as we record it.
Ooh.
So by the time this comes out, she will have had her arraignment.
Amazing.
So that is the story of Pamela Hupp.
Woohoo!
Jesus.
Honestly, if there is only one podcast that you should listen to before you die, I'm telling you, it's not the one you're listening to right now. It is the thing. It is the thing about Pam. It's so good. Leave us, abandon us. I'm telling you.
Run, don't walk. Turn this bullshit
turn
off
this car
immediately.
Around, pull over, turn this off. Go turn on the thing about Pam. Great job, Lucy.
Great job, Amanda.
We did it, you guys.
We fucking did it. All right.
Well, we have one more case for you. So should we take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors?
Let's do it. CBD seems to be everywhere these days. And I've tried so many different brands, types, gummies and tinctures and all that stuff. And it seems like it can be kind of hit or miss. So I can understand if you are wary about whether your CBD is working or if it's good for you. But I can tell you that Next Evo Naturals is where it's at. Next Evo developed Smart Sorb technology, clinically proven to help your body absorb CBD 4 times better than regular CBD oil, because oil just doesn't mix with your water-based body. It also works faster, so when you feel stress coming on, you're not going to waste your time wondering whether or not it's working.
Oh my gosh, seriously, helping with stress, whether it's the stress you experience as soon as you wake up, anticipating the rest of your day, or stress from an upcoming meeting, or even just the general stress that we might experience trying to settle down before we fall asleep. Having something available that is quick, easy, and so amazing to help just help you calm down, help you feel a little bit better.
Take the edge off a little.
Take the edge off is absolutely life-saving, and this smart sorb technology improves, like Lucy said, CBD's ability to be absorbed, so it gets into your system in as little as 10 minutes. I mean, come on, who doesn't need like a 10-minute wind down? Let's go. Most CBD oil, like Lucy said, found in tinctures, gummies, capsules, achieves between like 2 and 10% absorption, which means more than 90% of what you think you're getting is actually just wasted. But Next Evo Naturals are scientifically formulated to deliver more CBD in a way that your body can actually use it and use it quickly. It's proven 29 times better absorption in the first 30 minutes. So you can help fight stress with Next Evo Naturals Stress CBD Complex with ashwagandha, clinically proven to reduce stress by 70%. Who doesn't need 70% less stress? I mean, we all do.
Yes.
Ashwagandha and CBD are a powerful combination working together to target the source of rising stress hormones like cortisol. So Next Evo is the only brand that combines a patented natural whole plant ashwagandha that is 8 times more powerful than regular ashwagandha, and they're 100% U.S. hemp-derived Smart Sorb CBD with 4 times better absorption than standard CBD. So what are you waiting for?
Get to the root of stress with the Stress CBD Complex from Next Evo Naturals. For up to 25% off subscription orders of $40 or more, use promo code GALS at nextevo.com. That's NEXTEVO.com. Promo code GALS and treat your stress.
Treat it. Y'all, bra shopping is a very specific torture that I cannot put properly into words. And why is the lighting in every dressing room so bad?
Atrocious.
Like, do they do it on purpose? I think they do. And, you know, some of the best looking bras feel awful. And then the super comfortable ones look foul, like have no personality.
Yeah.
It's just like a lump. And you shouldn't have to choose between those two things. So one brand created a third way, and they are Third Love. Third Love was created by women for everybody with boobs, and Third Love has spent years researching and designing the perfect bras that feel just as good as they look.
I have very few bra brands that I actually turn back to again and again. And the top one is definitely Third Love. Their fabrics are super soft and stretchy, and they just have so many sizes.
Yeah.
I don't ever have the inclination to like try to cram myself into like a specific cup size because Third Love has half cup sizes.
They got them.
Yeah. Third Love was founded on the belief that you deserve a bra designed for your body. With their data-driven approach to sizing, Third Love has found that 50% of people with boobs are in between sizes. Or maybe they're like me and your 2 boobs are 2 dramatically different sizes.
I love those little babies you got.
They're
sisters, not twins.
Exactly. So Third Love invented these half cup sizes and carry more than 60 sizes from A through H.
I love that.
They've improved every bra detail like tagless labels, slip-free straps. You don't know how good you have it with these slip-free straps until you try a different bra that doesn't have them.
Right.
And like I said, fabrics that just feel like a second skin.
Yeah.
Third Love has bras for every stage of life, even nursing, because both co-founders are also moms.
Love that.
Third Love is the largest donor of undergarments in the U.S. also, so you're doing some good. You're giving back when you shop Third Love. They've donated over $40 million worth of bras to people in need by partnering with organizations nationwide. You're doing good. You're feeling good. You're looking good with Third Love.
That's so cool. So break the bad bra cycle with Third Love and join more than 10 million happy boobs and counting. Take the fitting room quiz and get 20% off your first order at thirdlove.com/gals. That's 20% off when you shop now at thirdlove.com/gals and treat your bubbies.
Straight on.
Okay, are you ready for my case?
I am.
Well, get ready to once again hate our justice system.
Oh, I never stopped.
I know. Get ready to deepen your hatred for our justice system.
Got it.
So we got to hop in the way, way back machine for this one and go to 1986.
Wow, prehistoric.
Vintage. Michael Morton and his wife Christine have a quiet life in Austin, Texas. Michael and Christine had met while they were both attending college at Stephen F. Austin State University. They fell in love and got married in 1979, and 4 years later had a little baby boy named Eric in 1983.
Eric.
They were especially like, you know, every new parent is super excited about the arrival of like their first baby, but this was like extra special because he was born with a congenitive heart defect. So like this kid was sick like immediately when he was born, and they basically just had to like sustain his health until he was old enough to have open heart surgery, which apparently old enough is 6 months old.
Well, you can't put a little baby in a heart surgery.
I know, but 6 months old is still a little baby, and they did it. They did open heart surgery. It's just like amazing to me what modern medicine is capable of. And also, I can't even imagine being a parent and having like a first-time parent, and this is your reality. Like, people are amazing. Anyway, fortunately, little baby Eric made it through surgery. The surgery was successful. It completely repaired his congenital heart issue, and they brought their baby boy home to recover, and Michael returned to work while Christine cared for little Eric. So other than this hiccup in the first few months of Eric's life, Michael himself remarked on how mundane and ordinary and like simple their life was. He said, quote, "I've often felt how almost excruciatingly average we are, a chunk out of a demographic study. The house, the yard, the kid, the car. We had everything but the picket fence, and it was good."
Get a picket fence.
Get a picket. We choose to get a picket fence. So that August, with Eric recovering well, the family decided that they could celebrate Michael's birthday with a night out at a restaurant. After dinner, they all went home, put Eric to bed, and Michael wanted a little birthday lovin'. He wanted a
Birthday beach.
Maybe. He wanted a little birthday or something.
Okay.
Christine, probably fucking exhausted from being a full-time fucking mom to a baby that just had a fucking open heart surgery, said, "Nah, son, I'm going to bed. This has been a long fucking day. We can talk about that later." So they went to bed. Michael went to bed disappointed. He woke up for work at the crack of dawn the next morning, and before he left for the day, wrote his wife a note that he had placed in the bathroom expressing his disappointment in not having his needs met the night before.
Oh, for God's sakes.
I know. Michael, honey.
No.
At the end of the day, what happens with this guy is awful. Like, it's fucked up, but also it's like the ultimate. It's like, is there a little bit of karma here for shaming your wife about the sex thing?
Good
with like the
Lord.
note. You really gotta leave a note,
Yeah.
Michael.
A note.
I'm not victim blaming, but I am judging the note.
But
I'm
this
judging
is
that.
Hard
okay?
evidence that you're kind of an asshole.
I'm sorry, Michael. I'm sorry, but
I'm
kind of a
not.
dick move.
Don't
No,
do
I'm not
that.
either. And also, I mean, again, my personal feelings about Michael have no connection to the injustice that he was served in this situation. But like,
Of course.
there's also evidence that like Michael is a Texas Republican, so that's not super fun. But anyway, whatever.
Cool. Great. Got it.
So he writes this note. It's like, "I'm kind of bummed that you didn't give me that lovin', but I love you and I'll see you later." Leaves it in the bathroom for her. But just a few short hours later, Christine would be found dead in her bed, bludgeoned to death with what investigators determined to be a blunt object made of wood, though the weapon was never found.
Like a baseball bat or something.
Yeah. The sheets were stained with her blood as well as semen. Obviously not her semen, but there was semen. There was semen on the sheets. And household items. This is so creepy. Household items from nearby, including a suitcase and a laundry basket, were just like stacked on her chest. So like a suitcase was stacked on her chest and then a laundry basket on top of the suitcase.
Oh my
and she was in her
God.
bed.
Ew.
Yeah. Seemingly staged there after her death.
Oh, God. That's
And a
creepy.
pillow was placed over her face, but she hadn't been suffocated. It was like put there to not see her face.
Okay. Classic remorse.
3-year-old Eric was present the entire time and like
In the room?
saw it. Yeah,
Oh, Eric.
I know. He was left unharmed, thank God. And Eric had even like told his grandmother that the person who had hurt his mommy was not his dad. He said it was a monster and was like kind of described what he looked like a monster with a mustache is what he was describing him as. I mean, this kid's 3, like he's doing the best he can. And he described the scene, like, and the murder in detail to his grandmother and to investigators, and specifically said that, quote, Daddy was not home when the murder occurred. So, like, he's young, he's 3, but he can talk and he has some short-term memory. Like, he knows what happened.
Yeah.
Maybe he doesn't understand it, but he knows, he recognizes his dad. He knows what a stranger is.
And he can communicate his interpretation.
Yep.
Wow.
So here's some information we get right away after the murder that, like, investigators uncover. On August 14th, the day after Christine was killed, her brother, so Christine's brother, who also lives nearby and was, like, you know, kind of poking around the area, like, in his own investigation. I think a lot of families will do this.
You kind of want to feel like you're doing something.
Exactly. If they, like, lose a loved one to violence or if a loved one goes missing, you want to be part of, like, combing the area and seeing what you can find, whatever. Mm-hmm. So he's doing that, and he finds a bloody bandana dumped in a construction site very nearby. I think they were, like, building a new house in the neighborhood, and handed it over to police as potential evidence. It was believed that the killer used the bandana to, like, wipe their hands and then ditched it while fleeing the scene.
Oh.
Upon questioning the Mortons' neighbors, police were told that a man had repeatedly parked in a green van on the street behind the Mortons' house and then wandered off into a nearby wooded area and would be, like, there for hours and then come back and drive away. Yeah.
Ew.
They'd seen him several times in the neighborhood.
God.
Then on August 15th, so this is 2 days after she was killed, Christine's credit card is used at a jewelry store in San Antonio. Then about a month after that, a check is attempted to be cashed at a bank in Colorado that had been written to little baby Eric Morton as a gift after his surgery. And Christine had received the check before her death, but hadn't had time to go cash it yet. So whoever killed her took the check and was trying to cash it with a forged signature. It got flagged, and, you know, the bank notified investigators that they had gotten this call about this forged check, and investigators were like, oh shit.
Mm-hmm.
So despite evidence pointing to the contrary, investigators are convinced that Michael killed his wife and was now laying a false trail to avoid implication. Family members are insisting that the killer had stolen Christine's purse and was on the run, but in an official report, Chief Investigator Sergeant Don Woods wrote, quote, "Course, we know better."
Okay.
Mm-hmm. So Michael is arrested about 6 weeks after her death because the investigators are just like, nope, the husband did it. Everything else is a false flag.
All right.
So this is a quote from the Innocence Project. Quote, "The prosecution presented no witnesses or physical evidence that tied Morton to the crime, but they hypothesized that he had beaten Christine to death because she refused to have sex with him on his birthday."
Oh my God. And they had a note.
Yep, exactly.
Jesus Christ.
So basically that note, like, that the entire prosecuting story, like the whole case against you is hinged on that note. I bet you really regret writing that note now, don't you, Michael? So if any man is listening and thinking about writing that kind of a note, think about what happened to Michael.
I'm going to write a note next time Corey shaves his
reminding
fucking
you
face
to
in the downstairs bathroom and can't use his eyeballs to see all the hair all over the sink.
Babe, I cleaned it.
I wiped it off. You wiped it off the sink and onto the floor? I'm leaving a note.
I mean, that's an earned note.
Yeah.
He
deserved it. The husband deserved it.
The husband did it, yeah. So on February 17th, 1987, Michael Morton was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison. The prosecution was absolutely in bed with police and trying to just open and shut this case and move on. They even intentionally withheld key evidence, both like the lead investigator's report and the prosecution. So the investigators like intentionally didn't provide the full case notes so that it would omit very compelling evidence, including the use of Christine's credit card in San Antonio. They never called lead investigator Sergeant Woods to testify, which is highly unusual.
This is so against the rules.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Is it called like disclosure? There's a name for it.
Yeah. This is another quote from the Innocence Project. Quote, when defense attorneys learned that the prosecution did not plan to call Sergeant Don Woods, the chief investigator in the case, to the stand, they suspected that the prosecution might be concealing potentially exculpatory evidence. The defense raised this concern with the trial judge, who ordered the prosecution to turn over all reports by Sergeant Woods so that he could conduct a thorough review. Evidence concerning Eric, the little baby, Eric's eyewitness account, the green van, and Christine Morton's credit card were all absent from the records given to the judge. So even after the judge was like, hand over everything you have, Sergeant Woods still didn't give him everything because he didn't want to get in trouble.
They really wanted that clearance for this murder. Well, how fucking lazy. That is
It's so lazy.
Conniving.
I know. It's so lazy.
And all this guy did was be a dick about birthday sex.
Yeah.
Ugh.
He didn't deserve all this.
Deserved a little bit, but not this.
Yeah, but not this. So with a conviction locked in and DNA evidence still years away, like really the only thing that they could determine in 1986 was someone's like blood type.
Yeah.
Like they're not getting trace DNA. They're not getting like full DNA profiles. They're just not. They're getting a blood type and they're going, okay, that blood type is like consistent with
a secreting man.
Or consistent with, in this case, Christine. So, like, they tested the blood that was on, like, the handkerchief and the blood on the sheets. And it was like, yes, this is Christine's blood.
Okay.
And they determined that there was semen on the sheets, but we were still too far away from being able to determine from that semen sample whose it was. Like, we couldn't match that there was no database of people's DNA.
Right.
And then they did collect some fingerprints at the scene as well, but they were, like, not good enough fingerprints. They were partial prints. Yep. So they couldn't match them to anything in a fingerprint criminal database. So this conviction's locked in. We don't have DNA evidence the way that we need it. And Michael has no other option but to just sit in prison and wait and like appeal, try to keep filing appeals. So Morton's lawyers request a new trial, citing a remark from Williamson County Assistant District Attorney Mike Davis to the jurors regarding an inch-thick stack of police reports that they never saw that could have sparked doubt about Morton's guilt.
It's a lot of paper.
Yep. And still, the motion is denied.
Oh, fucking come on.
Yeah. While Michael is sitting in jail, a year goes by, so now it's January 1988, and Deborah Masters Baker is found beaten to death in her Austin, Texas home.
Oh.
Yep.
And also, Eric is just sitting around with his grandma. Both his parents are gone.
I know. Poor fucking Eric.
And he watched it happen.
I know. Innocent victim in all of this, and then his dad is taken away from him for, I mean, we'll get to how long this guy was behind bars, but it's not good.
Okay.
It's not good. So the similarities between Deborah's murder and Christine's were impossible to ignore. So this is from Texas Monthly. Quote, both victims were in their 30s, had 3-year-old children, had long brown hair. They were both murdered on the 13th of the month, both on a Wednesday, both in their water beds specifically. That's creepy.
Well, it was the 80s. That's wild.
Mm-hmm. The perpetrator had entered both homes through unlocked sliding glass doors at the rear of the house. So, like, he's parking behind Christine and Michael's house for weeks beforehand. He's clearly casing it to see what doors they leave open.
Oh my God.
And he noticed that they leave the back slider unlocked, and that's how he got in. And so he clearly did the same thing with Deborah.
Jesus.
He'd entered both homes through unlocked sliding glass doors at the rear of the house, had emptied the women's purses, had stolen the cash inside. The killer had also stolen one big ticket item from each home. So in the Morton case, he had stolen a Colt 45 handgun. And in the Baker case, he stole a VCR while leaving like jewelry and like truly valuable stuff just untouched.
Weird.
Both women had been bludgeoned to death. Christine with 8 blows to her head and Deborah with at least 6 blows to her head. Oh, both had small defensive wounds or injuries that resulted from attempts to fend off their attacker on their left arms. They were both found with pillows over their faces, and they also both had household items stacked on their chest.
Oh, really?
Yep. Also, neither of them had been sexually assaulted. So, like, that's the only silver lining in this, is that they were bludgeoned to death, but at least they weren't raped. It's like, that's the silver lining.
But did he just jerk off on them afterwards?
Well, we'll get to it with the semen.
Okay. We'll get to the
So, well, don't talk about the semen.
gladly.
So, no one is arrested or charged with Deborah's murder. They don't know who did this. Michael continues to fight for his freedom as technology advances. He requests retesting of items from the crime scene. In 1990, he requests the bed sheets be retested, and this is approved. So the blood on the sheets is determined to be Christine's, and the semen is determined to be Michael's. This does not provide enough of a revelation to really do anything in Michael's case. This is your wife. Like, that's her blood, and that's your semen.
It's in your marital bed.
You live there. It's your marital bed. Great. We retested it. What do you want us to do?
Mm-hmm.
For 15 more years, Michael sits and waits and is denied appeals.
Eric is 18.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm so concerned about Eric, but
I am. Poor Eric. Well, somebody think of the children. But in 2005, his legal team submits yet another request for retesting of evidence, as well as evidence from Deborah Baker's crime scene. Because in the last retest that they were granted, they said, yes, we'll retest the sheets. But we didn't have access to anything from Deborah's crime scene. I don't even know if his defense team knew about that in 1990. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't, I don't know. Wow. But they keep refusing to test the bandana that was found a little bit farther away from the scene. And the bandana is even more crucial because not only would it potentially contain Christine's blood, but it could contain DNA from the killer because that bandana doesn't belong to Michael. It doesn't belong to anyone in their household. Whoever killed her is who brought that in and then got his slime all over it and ditched it somewhere.
Yeah, it's the only physical evidence from her scene.
Correct. That would contain potentially the killer's DNA.
Mm-hmm.
So they submit another request to retest all of this and test evidence from Deborah Baker's crime scene. The appeal goes to court, and in 2006, the appeals court approves retesting some of the items from Christine's crime scene, including scrapings from underneath her fingernails, but continues to refuse to retest the bandana.
Why?
And I don't know. And refuses to include testing or retest any evidence from Deborah's crime scene, because there isn't compelling enough evidence, I guess, for the Court of Appeals to link those two crimes, potentially. So the DNA from Christine's fingernails is found to be inconclusive. The appeals court in 2008 once again rules that Michael cannot be excluded as her killer and cannot be released. So they requested this in 2005. They don't get approval, and then this little bit of DNA evidence back until 2008. And then the DNA evidence that they do get back is inconclusive. So
great.
He's just still sitting there. District Attorney John Bradley scoffs at the continued request for retesting, stating that the testing will not, quote, identify a mystery killer. This guy's such a fucking asshole. Like, this Bradley guy he's like a flat earther about fucking DNA evidence. As DNA evidence is becoming, like, more advanced and more popular, he's like, this is fake science and this is controversial, blah, blah, blah. And so he's like,
if there's already someone in jail for this murder, why,
Yeah, and so he's like not only scoffing at wanting to retest DNA in this specific case, but like in the justice system as a whole, he's like, DNA evidence is like bullshit. Like it's junk science.
Okay.
We shouldn't be hinging all of these cases on like all this new shit on this new technology that we don't even trust yet.
Okay.
So he's like on a whole fucking vendetta.
So
about
he's
DNA
vaccinated
evidence.
is what you're saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He totally believes in science. So enter then Attorney General Greg Abbott, who's not the governor, but who orders John Bradley, this district attorney, to hand over all of the investigative documents in the case to Michael's legal team. This will be the first time that Michael's legal team, his defense team, sees the full investigation notes and not just the ones that fucking Officer Woods wanted to hand over. They finally handed over actually all of them.
Oh my God.
And all of these notes included testimony from little Eric saying that his father was not home and even giving a description of the man who had broken into their house. This was the first time that his team saw the information about Christine's credit card being used in San Antonio. First time they had heard about the fraudulent check cashing attempt in Colorado. First time they saw the neighbor's testimony about the strange man in a green van parking by their house.
I bet they were fucking livid.
Can you even imagine this entire case? this is a huge amount of evidence.
Jesus.
And all the while, District Attorney John Bradley continues to fight against emerging DNA technology, saying it's unreliable, and says in an interview with the Houston Chronicle that Michael's legal team is, quote, grasping at straws.
Fuck that guy.
Yeah, he's such a piece of shit.
Oh my God.
Finally, in January of 2010, the Court of Appeals allows Michael's team to have the bloody bandana tested. The results wouldn't be revealed for another year, when in June of 2011, the results show that DNA on the bandana belongs to Christine Morton and a man who is not Michael Morton.
Oh.
Yep.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. This DNA is run through the system and matched to a man named Mark Allen Norwood, who was already in the system for an arrest in California in 2007. Mark lived less than a mile away from Deborah Baker at the time of her murder in 1988, when Michael was already in jail.
Oh my God.
So, like,
but he drove a green
pieces
van.
Pieces are definitely starting to fit together now.
Yeah.
25 fucking years later.
25 years.
25 years.
Oh my God.
So, I mean, honestly, this is why I am so against the fucking death penalty. Because, like, it's worth it to me to not put anyone to death, even if we know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they did something heinous that would frankly even deserve death. Because, like, we will never truly know the scope of innocent people who have been imprisoned or executed before we had established DNA evidence. And even now after the fact, because our justice system is still so fucking broken and so racist and so fucked up that, like, even with all of the access to technology that we have now, intentional issues are still there.
And we're talking about how this attorney general or whoever, Bradley, district attorney, is such a prick and is digging in his heels and is the, oh, if it ain't broke, you don't fix it mentality of, we already got this clearance, we already have someone in jail, we already have closed this case.
He actively fought against DNA technology being used in this case that could exonerate an innocent man because he wanted the statistic.
And it makes you think about how many other people there are with that exact same mentality and worse that are in these positions. This is just one guy.
He's a district attorney.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, and like, obviously then, again, that intersection of, like, race, it's exponentially worse for people of color. But, like, in this specific instance, this is a white man. This is the justice system working against the top tier, most privileged faction of society. And he was put away he's an affluent, upper middle class, white male gun owning Texan. And he was wrongfully accused of a crime and wrongfully convicted and spent 25 years in jail. So if you think that the fucking justice system, even as a white person, even if you're just like, oh, I'm white, so I'm untouchable. No, we are, white supremacy fucking comes for all of us at some point. So it's not worth it.
Yeah.
This is not the system we should be fucking operating under.
25 years.
So we got to start caring about the most marginalized if we're, if we're going to fucking stop all this shit. So in August 2011, the greatest named judge ever, honestly, I think even usurping the reign of our beloved Justice Butterfield, because get a load of, I mean, this judge. Okay, here we go. Judge Billy Ray Stubblefield.
Wow.
Texas Judge Billy Ray Stubblefield.
Texas Ranger.
Texas Judge Billy Ray Stubblefield.
Wow.
Oh, I might change my name to Stubblefield. Okay.
My married name is Stubblefield. That's not my husband's
maiden name is Jacobson. My husband's name is Hoban, but my married name is Stubblefield. It's very confusing.
You're like me with unlimited names.
I'm just going to have 6 names, just like you do.
Yeah.
So Judge Billy Ray Stubblefield orders that the heretofore sealed case file under lead investigator Sergeant Woods be unsealed and made public. So this unsealing revealed further misconduct by both the prosecution and the investigators in this case. And, like, I think there was, like, a DA that ended up being charged and spent, like, 10 days in prison for fucking withholding evidence or maybe, no, it was like a judge that was in on some shit. I don't know. A lot. There was a domino effect and that my case was already getting long, so I just didn't like include all of this aftermath, but like there was aftermath of how flawed this, you know, distribution of justice, quote unquote, was. It was just fucked up at every turn.
God.
The last judge who had ordered Woods to hand over all of the information in Christine's case had continued to intentionally withhold information and like never provided the proper channels with the entirety of the case file.
God, that's so dirty.
It's so fucking dirty. So between the conclusions of misconduct within the justice system as well as the new DNA evidence, Michael's team finally had enough evidence on their side to overturn his conviction. Furthermore, the retesting of the bandana proved crucial in the solving of Deborah Baker's murder, as the DNA from the bandana matched DNA found in hairs recovered at her home.
Oh.
So that bandana that they fucking for years refused to test ended up being literally the key, the fucking cryptex from fucking Da Vinci Code of 2 fucking murders. And if they had just, even without DNA, with actual detective work, they had collected a lot of evidence to point them in a different direction, even without DNA, just from the testimony they got from the neighbors and from the son alone.
Oh my God.
And so they could have potentially prevented another fucking innocent young woman from being murdered, but they don't. That's the thing. The cops don't give a shit about public safety.
No.
They just want to have the clearance rates. Like that's, because if we cared, we would do better. Oh, I get so frustrated. But anyway, so the DNA from this bandana basically just like unlocks fucking everything. And October 4th, 2011, Michael Morton is finally released from prison after serving 25 years. I mean, I can't even imagine. Your fucking wife gets brutally murdered in front of your 3-year-old son. And before you even get a chance to mourn her, you get 6 weeks to be with your family to settle after that trauma, and then you're arrested for her murder, and you weren't even fucking home.
25 fucking years.
25 years. So now your son is an adult, and you've only seen him from behind glass. Like, no amount of money in the world can fix that.
No.
You could sue this police department and justice system for all they're worth, and God willing, I hope you made some money, but it doesn't matter. You can't fix that kind of fucking harm.
No. The entire family.
No.
Not to mention Deborah's whole family.
Exactly. And if I were fucking Deborah's family, I'd be livid. Because again, if they had just done their fucking jobs in the first place, Deborah could very well be alive right now.
Yeah.
So he was officially declared innocent less than 10 days after his release, and investigators got to work building a case against Mark Allen Norwood, and he is finally arrested on November 9th, 2011 for both Christine and Deborah's murders and was sentenced to life in prison.
Wow.
Yeah, honey.
What a miscarriage of justice.
I know. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
So fucking stupid. Anyway, that's my case.
Well, great job. And if your partner doesn't want to have sex with you, don't leave them a note.
Yep. Leave your notes to yourself.
Yes. And also, do your own poking around if a loved one gets murdered. They probably never would have found that fucking bandana in the first goddamn place.
No, probably not. Honestly, if any of you are murdered, I'm going to go interview all your neighbors. I'm privatizing the whole thing.
Mandy's on the case.
Moving in. Officer Mandy, let's go. We're fucking doing it. No, not officer. Detective. Detective Mandy.
P.I. Mandy.
P.I. Penis inspector.
Don't leave a note. Okay.
Never leave a note.
Well, thank you very much to Laura Brink, our extra special fan picker for this topic.
So good.
I think it's important to talk about. We rag on the husbands kind of a lot because statistically it's very likely that they did do
ever talk about my husband.
Don't you ever bring up my husband.
Why don't
she
you
like
eat a piece of bread
rises
and calm down? Yes, the snake.
I love how she slowly rises like a viper.
It's so creepy.
Oh
Fuck
my God.
Lisa Rinna. She's so crazy.
I know, but she is holding it together.
Ugh. Anyway, that's for a different episode.
We will see you next week.
Indeed.
We love you.
Bye-bye.
Being a mom is one of the most rewarding and fulfilling unpaid jobs there is.
It can also really fucking suck and drain the life out of you.
You said the quiet part out loud.
That's what we do here at Anonymous Mom, a podcast where two childhood friends reconnect to discuss mom life, adulting, and everything in between.
Join our Facebook group, Anonymous Mom, where you can post questions or topics you want us to discuss on air.
Or just vent and get that shit off your chest.
Because you can post anonymously if you want to.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening to Wine and Crime. Our cover art is by Kala Yip, music by Phil Young and Corey Wendell, editing by Jonathan Camp. Check out our website and blog at wineandcrimepodcast.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Wine and Crime Pod. If you have questions, answers, or recommendations to share, email us at wineandcrimepodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are available on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Play, basically wherever you get your favorite podcasts. And if you like the show, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. It is the best way to spread the word. If you'd like to show your support, visit our Patreon page to keep this podcast and the wine flowing. Cheers!